What we're going to do is we're going to paint the background first, and then we're going to let it dry for a few minutes. Then we'll come back in and do the fence post and the wire, and then we'll do the bird last. So I'm allotting, maybe 15 minutes for the background, and then we'll because that shouldn't take too long, and then we'll get busy with the wood and the wire and everything. Birds really aren't too hard to paint. It is a little hard if you start getting into a lot of detail with the feathers. You can see I did it a little bit here, and so the what we're going to do is we're going to get the bird's shape in, his wing in, his tail in, and then as you have time during class or after class, you can go back in with a detail brush and add in a few feathers and stuff here and there. Just little strokes, which I'll show you how to do. So what you basically need for your background is some blue and some white. Put down a fair amount. We want to do a little bit of blending on this. So, and you can also, if you want to go a little more purple out toward the edges or something, you can add a tiny bit of red to it. We're going to use our big brushes, and I'll set this one over to the side. And we are going to start in the center of the picture, and I want you to use a lot of paint. Okay, so we're going to start. We're going to just go in the middle of the canvas and don't spread it too thin. Keep it a little bit thick because we want it to stay wet while we do this. And then you can dip your brush in blue and just start putting some blue in here on top. Just do it quickly because we're going to go back and blend it. So don't try and blend it right now. We're just getting the color on here, and then we're going to blend a little bit, which will help. And if you're wanting to do, a little purpley color, you can put some red up here and get some purple. You can see how that gets you a kind of a purple color. I wouldn't go too dark purple, but you can put some up here. That gives it a little bit more depth than if it's just all blue and white. Now you mainly want your center to be white. I kind of overdid mine a little bit here, so I'm going to add some more white to it around the center here. And we're just going to cover the entire canvas just with streaky paint. See how streaky mine is? It's not pretty at all. Doesn't have to be pretty, but it does have to be thick so it doesn't dry too fast. Okay.
Did you mix the blue or you just put the white first?
I started with the white, and then I just put some blue on top of it and kind of mushed it around, and it mixes on the canvas, but you can mix it ahead of time if you want to, if you're more comfortable. Okay, so once you've got your paint kind of slapped on there, take your blender brush. If you don't have a blender brush, just clean off the brush you were using. Blender brush just needs to be a soft. This is a makeup brush I got at Target or the 99-cent store, I don't know which. Anyway, so what you're going to do, and you can use your flat brush if you need to, but just start in the center, and you're going to do circular motion like this to kind of blend it. And just keep working your way out in circles, and that's going to kind of give you like kind of like the bird is in front of a cloudy sky or something. Doesn't matter if there's a little bit of strokes in here, but you don't want it to look super busy. You want it to look kind of blended. And if as you're blending you notice that a color isn't, it's not quite the way you want it to be, you can take your blending brush and you can do this. You can tap it in the blue and then just go up here and just blend that blue in like that. Just do like little circular kind of motion, and it'll blend the paint and give you a really nice soft background. I still have a little too much white in here, so I'm gonna do this. Tone down my white a little bit. And then once you've done that, we need to let it dry. So don't keep working it forever. Just get it to where it looks kind of blended like this. Well, what we need to do is we need to mix up some brown, unless you have brown. But if you don't have brown, remember we make brown by mixing a scoop of yellow, a scoop of blue, and a scoop of yellow, and mix them all up and see what you get. I'm getting a weird green color, which probably means I need more red. So what you want is kind of a neutral brown. I'm going to add a little more yellow. There, now it's starting to turn brown. You make brown by doing equal amounts of red, blue, and yellow. And then add a little bit of white to it to make it kind of a light brown, because we're going to start with a lighter color. Now to do this post, the first thing we're going to do, let me show you the painting again, hold on, is we're going to do this top part right here. So it's kind of like a triangle, an elongated triangle. It has a straight line across the top. It comes down this way, and then it kind of goes back at an angle like that. So don't make it go straight up and down, make it go that way. So what you're going to do is you're going to do the outline of the triangle, and you're going to start about a little lower than mid canvas. So you're going to do a straight line across, and then you're going to do a line going down this way and make it come past that one, and then like this. So that's the top of your thing, and then you can just fill it in. You can go ahead and do the sides. So it's just a straight line down here and a straight line down here, and you can fill that in. Now what I would do is just so that you have a little, so that you don't lose your the top of your triangle, is dip your brush in a tiny bit of black. So you have just a little bit of black on your brush like this, and you're going to go right up here to the bottom of the triangle, and you're just going to pull that down a little bit like this. That way you can see where the bottom of your triangle is when you're painting, and it's just going to be part of the streakiness of the wood. The lines don't have to go all the way down. See, I just dipped my brush in some more brown, and now I'm going back in here like this. So you can just make it streaky. You can add a little bit of white to it to make it streak a little more. And just don't make it look like, you want it to look like wood grain. So basically what you're doing is letting your brush just kind of glide down a little bit. You can wiggle it a little bit on the way down so that you get some different colors. So take your regular brown color that you mixed up, and you can add a tiny bit of black to it. Do this and you'll get some black coming down. So this is real rough wood. This is wood that's been sitting outside for a while. You can also come from the bottom up. Make it as straight as you can, but don't worry about it if it's not super straight. And then you just take your brush, dip it in white paint, and just go up like this. See, it makes little streaks going up. You can dip it in some black paint. What we're going for though is we want the left side to be a little bit darker than the right side, because that's our shadow is kind of that way. We want the shadow to be the opposite way that the bird is facing. Don't be afraid to use a lot of paint. See how much paint I'm using there? It's like big blobs of paint. There, I'm trying to get the light right. There. So
how was your vacation? Did you enjoy it?
I did. We hugged them goodbye, and my daughter took us to the airport. We left them at home with Daddy, and we got to the airport, and he texted us and said Natalie was bawling, flat out bawling because we left. I said, well, tell her Grandma's crying too. I was starting to say, and I lost my train of thought. So when you're doing the top triangle, kind of go across this way instead. Same kind of lines and everything, but it's going kind of sideways. And it can be even a little bit rough. You can tap it a little bit because it's where they sawed off the wood. And you can also make it a little bit lighter in color than the bottom part, just because it's the top and it probably wouldn't be exactly the same color. Keep working while the paint's wet, just, you know, streak it down. And at this point, if you feel like it, you can switch to your medium brush to do a lot of the detail work. Keep your little bit of a black line thing going up here where the triangle comes down, so you can, it has a little bit of a dark ridge right there. It should have as many, you know, stripes in there, different grains and colors in there as you want. So this is really some beat up wood. There's so many colors that our eyes really don't see. It's funny to me because they say that when you take a picture with a digital camera, sometimes, you know, they come out really bright and there's stuff there and you go, well, I didn't see that when I looked at it. Well, apparently it somehow can see what we can't. I don't understand how a camera eye can be smarter than ours, but apparently it is, in terms of what kind of color we can see. So sometimes when I'm painting, I like to put unusual colors in places just to kind of make it a little more interesting. You could even take a little bit of red and mix it and get kind of an orange color, and put a little bit of orange like over here on the edge where it's supposed to be lighter. Go along there with a little bit of a gold color. Keep your kind of a light brown that you were working on the on the fence post with. We're going to keep that color and we're going to paint in our bird using that color as our base, and then all the other colors are going to go in on top of it. So there's his body. You can go ahead and fill it in. Birds are generally, this is the way that I generally paint birds, is that I'll do an oval, a couple of egg shapes. And it depends on, you know, what position the head is in, whether the bird is facing you and standing up straight or whatever, of course, dictates kind of the shape and placement of the eggs. But it's really easy to paint birds this way. Gives you their body shape. And then you're going to do, from right about here, you're going to go up and you're going to do, he has kind of a flat front face and he's got another little egg shape up here. And then you can start adjusting the shape a little bit, like you want to flatten this part out so that it goes out on his back. His wing's going to be about right here, just so you can see it too. Yeah, you can see that okay. All right, and his wing is going to come, it's going to come out right down here. So that's where you want to aim for. You want to make his wing come out right there. His wing comes to a little point, so you can either use this medium brush or you can get your little brush. You want to make it come to a little point right here, like this. That's his front wing. The rest of his wing kind of goes up from there. You can see the feathers that come. There's a feather. You want to make his wing come up like this from the point a little bit and come that way. So you have this big, you know how they have a big feather on the outside of their wing? That's what this is right here. Doesn't have to look finished yet. Just block it in, because we're going to come back and do a whole bunch of overpainting on top of him. I'm making his wings. So he has this big wing feather right here. He has another one right here. Another one right here. So his body kind of goes like this, and then his wing sticks out just a little bit right there. You can also take a darker color and just go up here, and you're going to block in his little mask, which starts about part way on the top of his head like this, and comes around and comes down. So we're going to start putting in his belly colors a little bit, because his belly is not the orange yet, but the bottom, the lower part of this part of his belly down here. You want to mix a little bit of a light gray like this, just black and white, and then also take a little bit of white and add it to your brown color that you're using, so that you have kind of a light brown. So you have a gray and a brown. They're a little different, even though it's hard to see. And just do really soft strokes here. So you're still using your medium brush, but you're just going to do little soft strokes like this. So you do a stroke and lift up your brush, and do a stroke and lift up your brush. That's how you get it to start looking like feathers a little bit. You can also take this light brown and just kind of put it here on the feathers a little bit, but leave the dark edge of the feathers so that it shows up of his wing. Take your brush and you wipe it off a little bit. Then you can just blend this, and that will help with that impression of a soft underbelly. If you just do that. So you can still tell there's feathers there, but and then I'm going to put a little bit of the lighter color back here on his back. You can do that as you're working on your painting. If you look at it and you think, well, that part doesn't look quite the way it ought to, then just fix it. You can go over, you can change the shape of what you got going on. You can do all kinds of things with it. Now we're going to take yellow and red, and we're going to try and get a kind of an orange color. We want it to be a little bit dark at first, so make kind of a dark orange. And if you need to make it a little bit darker, you can add a teeny tiny bit of blue to it. Just a barely tip your brush in the blue and add it in, and it'll dull it a little. The orange, because we're doing a darker color on the orange first. The orange goes right along the front here, down about halfway, and it goes down a little bit further over here. So you take it about halfway there, and then it goes down a little bit further, and then it comes up here next to the wing, and it goes up here for the whole face. So the front of his face is orange, and you're going to make it come back here for his eye. His eye sits in the middle of the orange part, and then bring it around over this direction too. So you want to move your brush this direction a little bit. Okay, so that's your basic orange. And that too is going to be real soft, so we're going to do some blending here. So now what you do is wipe your brush off. You don't have to rinse it, you can just wipe it on a paper towel. And let's take some yellow and some red that doesn't have, whoa, well, maybe you should rinse your brush off. I just got a yucky color. See my yucky color right there? So I am going to rinse my brush off. I take it back. So let's try that again. All right. So we want red and yellow, and you want to get a brighter orange color. Okay, so see how that's a brighter orange? And we're going to come back and we're going to put it in here on top of that other. You can just kind of tap it on like this a little bit. Don't worry about putting in strokes. This is where we're going to start getting some of the softness we want to have on him. So we're going to tap it in on top. And this is where the pretty color starts to come out and pop against the blue, against your background. So, and you're going to just put it in the same places that you put it before. Just follow where you have it. Tap it on there, and we're gonna, while we have the brush with that color, we're gonna wipe off your brush a little bit so that you don't have a lot of paint on it. And you want to come in and put some over here just to give the idea that that orange color is around in different areas. We're going to take yellow and we're going to add it to that orange that we mixed up, and we're going to make it a little bit more yellow gold kind of a color. Okay, so just add yellow to it until you get kind of a yellow gold color. Take your brush and you're going to pat that, but it's not going to go all over. It's going to go along the edge, kind of like a little highlight. So you just want to tap it, tap it, tap it like that. So that helps it blend because your paint is still wet. So you don't have to, you stroke it in along the edge like this. Just stroke it in along the edge so that you have that light color on the edge, and then just tap, tap, tap till it kind of blends in. Now, at this point, we're going to let that rest because we're getting enough paint on that part of the bird that we've got to let it rest a little bit so we can come back and make it a little bit of a brighter orange. But right now the colors are mixing together. So you can just put a little bit of orange down here on his, you know, the bottom part of his belly a little bit. But what I want you to do is take your medium-sized brush, and you're going to dip it in white paint, but you're going to dip it, well, I'm out of white paint, hold on. Okay. But you're going to dip it straight up, and make sure your brush is pretty dry. You're going to dip it straight up and down like this in the white paint, and then you're going to go over here and pat most of that off so that you don't have a lot of paint on your brush. And then you're going to go down here to your top of your log, and you're just going to start blocking in some, patting in some snow. So you can just kind of wiggle your brush around so that you don't get it in a straight line. And it doesn't have to cover the whole thing. Make some areas a little thicker and other areas a little bit. We got that part done. My bird is just about dry, so now I can go in and do finishing things on him. So the first finishing thing that we're going to do is use our tiny brushes, and we're going to give him an eye and a beak and some feet, and then we'll go in and work on more feather detail and stuff. Now his beak is about midway right here in front of his face, and it's just a little black triangle, long triangle, but not super long, just like this. Twirl when you're using your tiny brush, make sure you twirl it so that you get a good point. So when you put it in the paint, twirl it around, and that helps get a better point so that you can be more precise. You don't want them to end up having a big honking beak because you keep going over and over it, which is about what I'm doing here. Let's see, I'm going to make it a little bit wider at the base here, down toward his face. I don't like detail brushes much. I don't like the way that beak just turned out. I'm going to have to fix it. But I'm not going to fix it right now because it's black. And if I try to fix it right now, it's going to smear black paint all over the place. So I'm just going to finish up the shape here, and then I'll go back in a few minutes with some blue. Beaks are can be a challenge. Okay, he looks like he has a swooping beak. Now I probably could fix that. Let's see. If I do this, I come at it from a different angle and go up like that. That's better, but it's too big, so I'll have to fix it. Anyway, put it on there. Don't worry if it has a straight edge, because we're going to come back in with by his face, because we're going to come back in and put some more orange, which will go on top of it. So then his eye, typically their beaks kind of go like this into their face. So you can do something kind of like that. And then his eye is going to be right here. Make it totally black. And make a circle. We'll come back in a few minutes and put a white highlight in there. And it just goes down here. A little bit. Oh, I got too much water on my brush. You have one toe going forward, or one claw going forward right there. Then you have another little claw going back this way. And then you have the third one coming down like this. What we're going to do right now is we're going to mix up some more bright orange. So take red and yellow. Now that the paint's dry up here, we can go in here and we can tap in this really pretty orange color. And the reason we went with the dark color first is because what happens is it gives it depth. Because the dark color kind of shows through. So you don't have just a flat. And especially if you're tapping it like this, then you've got the light color coming in on top of the dark, but see how you can still see the dark underneath? And that helps it look like there's layers of soft feathers right there. So just use this orange. You're going to come up here, bring it all the way up, tapping it, and you can tap it a little bit over the beak so you can still see the beak underneath, but it's not the sharp edge. And you want to bring it this direction like this, around his eye. If the eye isn't dry yet, be sure you don't dip the brush in the black by accident. Then you go up his face like this. So now he's starting to look a little better. Add a little more yellow right in the front. So you can just take your brush and just go into some straight yellow like this. And you're just gonna, and you need to have quite a bit of yellow, because yellow does not cover very well. And you just want to tap, tap, tap some yellow along here so that we can tell where the sunlight is. And you can tap it out like this so that it actually, just do this a little bit around. So you see how that's making it look a little more, giving it more dimension, and it doesn't look quite as flat. And then you can come down here with the yellow color and just kind of highlight along the edge here where his belly is, some wings. You can even highlight his foot a little bit if you want to get kind of a orange color on it. Take your brush, and what you need to do is get paint on your brush, but then wipe your brush like this so that you don't have a ton of paint on it. You're wiping it off on there, and then you can do this kind of a glaze over the top where it'll just give it a little bit of color, but it doesn't wipe out all your other color. So you can still see the other color underneath, and you're just glazing this on top. Give them a little pop. And we're going to do that with more colors. So what we're going to do is we're going to take white and we're going to water it down a little bit. I've told you about this before, but we're going to water it down and get it real thin, like milk, kind of like skim milk or something. Wipe your brush off, And then just come in here, and in place areas where you want it to be a little bit lighter, you can just do this real light brushing on here. And just kind of get this little bit of a transparent, little transparent feather type stuff going on here. We have to wait for the eye to dry, and then we'll go finish it with the white highlights and stuff that are in the eye. Makes all the difference in the world if you can get the highlight in the eye. It keeps it from looking flat and strange. So I'm going to make the top of his head a little bit lighter. So you want to do that to make it look like some lights kind of hitting the top of his head a little bit. Just blend it down into that orange area. You can use your fingers to blend. They're one of the best blending tools you've got. Try to make sure that you don't have a super hard edge where the color meets the brown feathers. So you might need to go in with a little orange and just kind of soften it up a little bit. You don't want to have any lines in there where it looks like there's a straight line. In reality, I don't think that I have his shape quite right, but because I think I need to make his belly go out a little more, but I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to show you what to do if you mess up something like, I think his beak is a little too fat, so, and it doesn't come to a very good point. So instead of you can fix it. There's a couple of ways. Since it's black, I'm going to fix it this way, which means I'm going to come in here with white paint, and I'm going to shape his beak to be how I want it to be, and then I'm going to let that white paint dry, and then I'll come in and paint blue over it, and you won't be able to tell. Sometimes you have to do that, especially if you need to fix a dark color, because if you try to go in with just the blue or just the yellow, it will not cover the black. So there. No, that's still too long. See, now my perfectionistic side is coming out. There, that's better. Okay. All right, there. So what we're going to do with the eyes is a couple of things. So you need to take your detail brush, and I want you to take some white paint, and we're going to add water to it again, but not as much water, just enough to make it flow a little bit easier than it normally does. So maybe just dip your brush one time in the water and then come do this and get your white paint to be a little more fluid. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a dot right up here in the Don't do that. I think I wasn't, I had the problem with these detail brushes, and that's why I hate them, is that sometimes they hold more water than you think they've got on them, and then when you go to paint a detail, the brush actually drops a big blob of water on your painting. So always make sure that you can wet your brush a little bit, but that's funny. Okay, so I think I'll leave that in the video too. Maybe everybody on YouTube will think it's funny. We'll see. So you want to put a little dot like this on there. Can you see that little dot? Don't put it right in the middle. Put it right there along the edge. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. It just needs to be like a little reflection. And then you can go like this with your detail brush and just barely give him a little bit of white around his eye like that. See what I did with his eye? So I put a little tiny dot on it and then a little tiny white line. It's like his eyelid where he would blink. now I'm going to fix my thing, and then we're going to show everybody what we've got so far. And if it doesn't look like you want it to, don't panic, because I'm going to make the video, and you can stop and start the video and work on it a little more at your leisure. Plus, you know, if you're working on it in the next couple of days and you have a question or something, just text me or ask me a question, and I'll be glad to see what I can do. So let's see if I can fix this. It's not quite the same shade, so what that means is that I just have to blend it a little bit. The trick too with trying to blend a color in is that it won't look the same exactly as it does when it dries. So there, see, I fixed his beak. It looks better. Oh, we forgot the
Wire.
the wire. Yeah. So you're gonna do a little ring right here, and it's gonna be right there, like it's coming out of the side of that. And you're gonna take a little bit of black and just well, not yet. Okay. Take a little bit of black and put it, I've got too much white paint, but you want to put a shadow under here like this. So you got a gray shadow underneath. And the top part is kind of a whitish color. And then we're going to go over here to the other side, and we're going to do, so this is going to be, you want to kind of figure out where the wire is going to come out on the other side by doing this with your brush, because this wire is going to go down this way and this one's going to go this way. So you just want to take your brush and just do, and it doesn't have to be an exactly straight line either. It's just a wire, so just put it on here, going off the edge of the canvas. That's why I don't like detail brushes. Okay, and it's like it's just going behind right there, and then you're just going to put the little bit of shading underneath, so it's kind of lighter on top and a little bit grayish underneath for shadow. And then come over to where you had the other one on the other side, and you're going to make this wire look like it's looping through this thing, so it's going to go right on top of it like that. So it just goes on top and comes down off the end of the canvas over here.